Hey, hey
Come on
Mateo.
in. Hi,
How are
Mary.
you?
Doing well.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for visiting my studio. Come on in. Hi, my name is Mateo. I'm a Colombian-born, Miami-raised, and photo-based artist. I'm here at the Bakehouse.
So, how long have you been in the Bakehouse?
I've been here at the Bakehouse since 2018.
18.
Yes,
Well, okay, that's a few years. What do you love most about the Bakehouse?
I love the community. Uh, I love being surrounded by like-minded individuals and other artists that are excelling in their craft and just constantly being influenced, through conversation, through critiques, through sipping coffee together. It's a beautiful place to engage and grow as a community.
It's such an incredible place for artists here in Miami. You are on the second floor. Is
Yeah,
like the second floor group different from the first floor? It's a little,
absolutely, absolutely. I feel like the second floor is like a community within a community, and I'm very grateful to be here. Since I've got here, like I've only had a studio upstairs,
yeah.
but I'm very grateful for the small community within the community that's here. Particularly my neighbor Augusto. He's a wonderful artist and
Yeah.
a wonderful human being.
So, what's a typical day in the studio look like for you when you come in?
It varies, honestly, depending on the projects that I'm working on. Sometimes I come in and I sit down in front of my computer and I don't get up like for the rest of the day because I'm just editing for hours. Other times, I convert the studio into a photography studio and I set up backgrounds, I set up lights, and I do portraitures. With I collaborate a lot with dancers. So when I
Yes.
bring a dancer in here, we transform the space, and so it depends. It varies, and that's another thing that I love about my studio is that it lends itself to evolve depending on the project that I'm currently working on.
So you split your time between studio and then out in the field
Absolutely.
photographing.
Uh, it's not like a 50-50 split. It again, it goes back to the project that I'm working on. But I also like to consider the city as part of my studio, an extension of my studio.
Studio. Why photography? What was it about that you said that's it for me? Yeah.
That's a phenomenal question, and I feel that it's constantly evolving. So I got into photography because I was influenced by a childhood friend. Her name is Vivian Asalia. She's another local Miami icon, and we grew up together. I've known her since we were like 9, 10 years old. We went to elementary, middle school, high school, and college together. And throughout those years, she always had a camera with her, capturing moments from our childhood. And I love that. I love just being able to remember those moments, because I grew up in a time where like digital photography was just emerging. So it wasn't as accessible as it is now.
Yeah.
So, just looking back and having those memories, like completely influenced.
So it was always digital photography. Did you ever study film?
I did. I actually, okay, so in high school, I got a camera, got my first digital camera. And then in college, I took a black and white film photography and I just fell in love. And it was in that class at Miami Dade College that I never looked back. It was in that class that I would spend like 10 hours in the dark room, and I would forget to eat. I would forget, where the hours went, and the day just flew by, and I was just in the dark room developing all the photos that I would take of my.
The dark room is like Vegas. You forget time. I know. I'm a photo major at Barry, so you do. You forget what time it is. You forget that you've eaten. You don't even know your name afterwards. You're like,
well, and because you're engulfed in the work in the process,
yeah,
with all the chemicals, like, and it's also because it's a dark room. It's dark. You're adjusting to the light, to the environment, and it it's a process of photography that forces you to slow down, and that's another branch of photography that I adore, especially nowadays where we live in such a fast-paced society.
yeah.
Shooting film really forces you to slow down and appreciate your environment.
So I kind of love you can't see what you're getting.
Yeah,
You have to be patient.
yeah. So it's a combination. Also, you got to trust yourself, and your knowledge, and also just really focus on your environment, on being an observing participant in society.
Yeah. Yeah. So you and I have something else in common: dance.
Okay,
We both love dance.
absolutely.
Why are dancers usually your subject?
I fell in love with dance predominantly in college. So I went to New World School of the Arts, focusing on photography, but I also ventured out into other mediums. I explored painting, I explored sculpture, and I also incorporated a lot of that in my work. Nonetheless, as a photographer, I got hired by the dance department to photograph their performances, and just experiencing those performances firsthand, I just fell in love. I fell in love with the way that dancers express themselves through the body and use the body as a medium. And I I use the body as a way to express myself in collaboration with the dancers, because the body is something that everyone has. Everyone in this world, regardless of race, color, ethnicity, background, we all have a human body, and that's like the primal thing that makes us human. So I the body is my canvas.
I love your work because there's so much intensity and color behind it. How do you choose your subjects aside from the dance series? Do you just talk to people and you're like, I need to shoot this person?
Yes, it's I'm very receptive to energy, and I love people's energy. So if you give me a good vibe and you provide something insightful, if you open the door to a great conversation, that's where I come in. I'm like, okay, I gotta narrate that story through imagery, through photo, through video, and that's how usually I choose my subjects. Is okay, what is your voice?
Show me your studio.
Sure.
Can I get a little tour?
Yeah,
I've noticed this series.
Yeah, so this is actually a great dancer. His name is Josie Brooks, and he was my muse for a couple of years. And I really adore how he expresses his himself through movement, and because he makes it seem so effortlessly, but it's so graceful. And going back to the conversation, like he's a wonderful human that just lend himself to great conversation. And his motivation for dancing is to inspire other people to be their best selves, and that inspired me. And I'm like, okay, I gotta photograph you, I gotta capture you. So Josie has been one of my greatest muses.
Mm. Is this an older series?
This is so these two are part of the same series. This is actually Josie as well. So I've
Just
collaborated.
parts of the body. How amazing.
Yes, yeah, and so the title of this piece in particular is called La Repetición, which is the repetition, and it's a process where it started as a black and white film photograph. I took those photographs and I developed them in a darkroom. I scanned the prints and I turned them into digital negatives. From those digital negatives, I printed them onto pronto plates and created lithographs. I took those lithographs, I scanned them, and then I turned it into this digital collage and I printed it digitally.
There's so much color and vibrancy in your work. Is he under here?
So that
This is beautiful.
Thank you. This is a piece that a lot of people gravitate towards because it's unclear whether or not there's a person.
There's a person in there. I think there is, but I could be completely wrong.
Do you want me to tell you?
Is there?
There is no one under
There's no one under there?
No. So that's a sculpture that I made based on the movement that I captured
Yes.
on my photography. And then I made the sculpture and then I photographed it. So a lot of my work is about going from process to process. And this particular piece, I like to describe it as a three-dimensional object represented on a two-dimensional plane, and it's experiencing the fourth dimension.
So that's why it's one piece and then several.
Yes, it's one piece and it's photographed in the round. So it depicts how there are multiple perceptions of one singular reality. You know, like we're both here in this space, but I'm experiencing it from this perspective, you're experiencing it from that perspective. But we both agree that we are sharing this collective reality.
Yeah. And this, because you have several colorful crops.
Yes. So these are my fabrics. These are my colored fabrics, and I use these for to photograph my dancers. I use them as backdrops. I use them to conceal parts of the body. So this one I can show you this one in particular. I had one of my dancers who's also a little bit of a seamstress, and what you can do with this piece is you can actually you can wear it.
Oh wow!
Here, so you can wear it and
move from it. Yeah.
So with these fabrics, what I love is that I become the sculpture. The dancers that I work with, they become the sculptures.
Yeah.
And it's a way to generate contrast, to work with geometry, and then incorporating lights. I cast shadows on particular areas, and it creates a little more dynamic movement in the bodies that I photograph.
Mm-hmm. And I notice you have journals.
Yes.
Do you keep a lot of journals?
I have a lot of journals. This is just a couple of selections, and I always like to write down my ideas. I like to write down my to-do lists. Like I have a gazillion ideas running through my mind.
I'm still a fan of paper and pen. How about you?
Absolutely.
I heard it makes a difference, actually.
It really does, because when you put your thoughts onto paper, you're making them real.
Yeah.
You're manifesting and you're creating your own reality. So, words are movement. Words, you're dancing with your thoughts. And that's what I love about journaling.
And this is you.
Yeah. There's a journal that an agenda that I created.
Love that cover image. Do you draw as well?
I do. Yes. Not much, but I do enjoy drawing.
Oh. And prints?
Yeah. So this is ink, and it's it's pointillism, and so it's a word.
Well, oh.
Yes. It's a Russian word.
What does it mean?
It's read "Panim nogu," and what it means is little by little.
Little by little.
Yeah, and so it's adequate to the pointillism. What I love about pointillism is that the dedication that it takes to create something, and that's why I chose that word, because you achieve your goals by working little by little.
Yeah. See, that's something like every artist lives by, no?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
This is a gorgeous series, by the way. Just close-ups of muscle.
Mhm.
When did you do this one?
That one was maybe like 3 years ago.
I love this.
What do you love about it?
Just the colors, and I know that that's a dancer. It's just the spine blending it with a shirt. You know, it almost looked like a heart, kind of like has this like organ. From dance, I just remember that the sitting and waiting in between,
Mm.
you know, and all dancers usually eat on the floor. So it's just the stretching and stuff while having lunch on the floor, you know.
Oh, yeah.
It just brings back memories. Amazing. Love this. You can't get away from color.
I cannot. I cannot. I do a little bit of black and white, but is color is my biggest muse.
Here's a sculpture, right?
Yes. So that was a project that I did at the Daring Estate with a few dancers. Uh, and I created like these ephemeral sculptures, and I used the dancers, their body parts, their hands.
Their hands.
Yeah. To kind of like emulate that they are the sculptures kind of coming to life.
Mm. That is such a great place to do something like this
Mm-hmm.
because you have this open space and the grounds lends itself out
Oh, absolutely.
to amazing sculptural work.
Yeah, and the Deering Estate is a very historical place. There's a lot of rich history in Miami.
Yeah.
That project in particular, I titled it Miami, which is the native word for from the Tequesta people, which are our geographical ancestors. And there's a lot of rich history about them that not a lot of people know. Even growing up here, um, I didn't know about them until like I actually got curious enough to research, and so that's why I chose to work on this project to kind of like pay homage to their existence and how they influenced our environment, how they lived by incorporating the land to their livelihood, how they embraced the water that surrounds us, and I like to take from that and use it to create my work and influence people to not only research history, but take from it and adapt in today's society.
How do you start? What are the initial stages of a project for you? Is it you kind of brainstorm and you're like, okay, this is what I'm going to do next?
So I think the initial stages are there was just one initial stage, which was me being born, honestly,
Yeah.
and I just get inspiration from living life. And it can be as simple as being at home watching a movie, going to the museum, and just exploring. The other day, I went to the Frost Museum of Science, and I was mesmerized by the jellyfish just floating around.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I immediately thought, oh man, I can create work like this. So just being out there and living life, I feel like sometimes as artists we get really into our studio and we get kind of like creative blocks. What I say is go out there and live life. Don't even think about it. Like you never know where inspiration
It's just going to come
strike.
from. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And are these yours too?
they are. Yes.
So you like sculpture and
yes, and I made this one a little bit kind of like kinetic to emulate the movement of the dancers that I capture.
oh, that's great. Do you use the mirror at all?
I use the mirror. I have the mirror for the people that I photograph.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
Yes, because
because
the subject's always going to look at themselves.
yes, yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, I like to look at myself too, like just hey, remember
Yeah.
you're human. So, but yeah, but people like seeing how they look,
Yeah.
and I like providing that for them so that they feel more comfortable
Comfortable.
in order to reveal their best selves in front of the camera.
And here, this is your.
So
Is that
these are
it?
just, this is a kind of like a little rolling thing where I keep some of my tools.
Yeah.
But I also like to keep it as a kind of like a tabletop. So like when people come into my studio, I just put my portfolio here. And
Oh, is this new work?
yes, this is, well, it's not new work. It's work that I haven't shown, but it's a series that I've been working on for the past 10 years.
Oh, it's ongoing.
Yes, it is ongoing and it is growing.
Oh, oh. So this is you.
This is me.
I have
This
to
is,
ask you, how do you feel in terms of the difference between you being the subject and others? What do you prefer?
I prefer photographing others.
You do.
Yes. However, for this is the only project in which I'm the subject.
Yeah.
And it's a very tedious project and a tedious process because I'm by myself. I am the subject and the photographer, so I'm constantly going back and forth between the composition and checking behind the camera to make sure that it looks how I want it to look.
And so is Miami.
Yeah. So this is a project. It's titled Quiet Noise,
Mhm.
and I'm working on publishing a book with this work and having an exhibition. And so this project, it's a commentary on the absurd abundance of construction all over Miami.
Yeah.
So this one in particular is Alton Road and 17th Street. I like to include a few landmarks just to toss in there that, hey, this is Miami.
Yeah. A lot of construction, not a lot of homes. You know what I
This
mean?
is the photo that started it all. Was the old Miami Herald building. If you've grown up here in Miami, you understand the importance and significance of this building. And yeah, and so before it was completely demolished, I had to get in there and document it.
Yeah, that's where Art Miami is now.
It is, yes.
Yeah.
That's where it happens now.
It's an insane location.
Oh yeah. But that building, man, that building was very historic and very, very important to
Yeah.
Miami.
Yeah. That's definitely old Miami
This is at Miami International Airport.
Airport. This is a bit dangerous. Like, do you ever encounter cops trying to arrest you?
Yes. So I have had a couple of incidents where the cops kind of like they came in, because most of these I photograph at the nighttime.
Yeah.
But there are a few that I do during the daytime. And again, like sometimes, like I'm just driving around Miami and a construction site calls to me. I'm like, oh, okay, I got to get in there. But that's why I like to do it by myself because it is a very dangerous project. But there was one particular instance in Coral Gables, actually.
Of course, it's Coral
Yes.
Gables.
And yeah, so, somebody called the cops on me, and thankfully, I had already taken the shot. I had already captured the image that I wanted to get. But four cops came, and they saw this random guy in a construction site, nude. And I
Oh,
so
God.
where they were approaching me, I was just finishing putting my camera away, getting dressed, and everything. But I explained myself. I explained I'm an artist. I explained the project that I'm working on, and I showed them a few samples of the project and on my phone. And thankfully, they let me off with a warning. And they said, if you want to do this, go somewhere else.
Don't do it in Coral Gables.
Yeah. So that was one of those experiences. But it fortifies the strength of this project, and it made me want to do it even more. Nonetheless, I do have to be very cautious and very careful. I'm finding ways, like alternative routes where maybe I can, talk to some of the construction people, to kind of like give me a little bit of access. I know there might be like some liability issues, but I'm looking for alternatives. This is a powerful project that I want to um, continue.
Mm-hmm. Is this your workspace over here?
This is my workstation.
Your
Yeah,
workstation, yeah. Of
yeah.
course. Shoot rules.
Yes.
Are you a fan of The Office?
I grew up on The Office. Yeah, absolutely. I've seen that series a number of times, and it's hilarious. And I have Dwight because I love his work mentality.
Yeah.
He loves his work. He loves his process.
Obsessive.
He's very obsessive. So he's a huge influence of mine. And that was actually a Christmas gift from my sister. And this is my workstation, and he's in his work uniform.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have your cameras.
Oh yeah.
Just love this. Like looking at the cameras. Oh, what? I love that one.
Yeah, that one is fun.
That's fun.
Yeah, that one is really fun.
It's all your books. Like,
Oh yeah.
do you have a favorite?
I do. This is actually one of my favorite books, The Alchemist.
I love it.
I read it in high school, and I am rereading it again. Because
This is definitely a reread.
yes.
You got to reread it multiple times.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I will tell
Amazing.
you another great book of mine. So this is actually is Neil deGrasse Tyson, Astrophysics for People in a Hurry. Uh, this this book is it's small, but it's dense, and I've read it several times. But what I love about it is that it shows me how connected we are to one another, and how connected we are to the rest of the universe, and how we are all just experiencing this reality together. So it begs the question: is like, why is there so much division in the world when we're all just humans, just existing here? Yeah. So that's why I love this book.
You love your collection. Amazing. I see Dali. No?
Yes, Dali. Salvador Dali. He's a huge influence. Absolutely.
Is that a drawing?
That is a drawing. Yeah, that's a drawing that I commissioned an artist to do.
Oh,
Daniela.
wow.
Yeah. So I met her at like Open Studios, and I saw her work, and I was fascinated by the way that she draws, and I'm a huge fan of Dali. So I asked her to do this piece for me, and it's one of my most prized possessions, and I have it here just so that I can from time to
Love
time
it.
just look at it and remind myself of my roots, my influences, and yeah, just remind myself of his work and his talent.
Who are some of your favorite artists aside from Dali?
That's a great question. I like a lot of different people. Like Robert Mapplethorpe is a huge influence.
You like his photography?
Yes. Yeah, I like his photography. I also like Kandinsky.
Yeah.
Vasily Kandinsky, just the way that he captured color, and
He always makes me think of music and energy,
absolutely. So he had a condition called synesthesia,
Yeah.
where he would hear sounds, where he would hear color.
Yeah.
So like
the purple has a sound,
yeah,
and blue has a sound.
And
It's fascinating.
He painted that. He painted those the sounds that he heard from the colors, and he used geometry to capture space and to depict emotions. So I'm very very drawn to this work.
Shape is part of your work too.
Yeah. So even though drawing and painting is not my biggest portion of my work, I draw inspiration from that, and I use photography. I use light, which is my language, to to create my own composition.
Mm. And this is storage.
Yes.
How do you manage storage? Because I always ask this of every artist, like, because
So
finding studio space is a problem, but also
yes,
storage.
yeah. So recently, I created this wall, and I created this this wall. I created this storage space because I wanted to separate storage and workstation from the main view of my studio.
Yeah.
And I want when people come in here to solely focus on experiencing my work.
Yeah.
So I wanted to create that division and also to like organize my thought process as well. Um, and of course the need for storage. Like the more that we create, the more that we accumulate. And I also have materials that of projects that I'm working on, and yeah, I just keep things as organized as possible.
This is pretty organized.
Thank you.
I've seen some disasters.
This is my entropy, my organized chaos.
Your organized chaos. I
Yes.
love it. So, any future projects or future goals? What's
Yeah.
next?
Oof. Well, right now I am collaborating with Syncopate Collective. Yes.
Really?
Yeah, which is a dance company. They're based out of Coral Gables.
Yeah.
And there's dancers that I've worked with and collaborated with on previous projects. But we're putting together. Just gonna throw a little bit out there, because it's just in the planning stages. We're working on a feature film. Yes.
What?
And so it will incorporate historical landmarks in Miami. It will incorporate environmental aspects and, of course, movement and a lot of color. So yeah, so it's a year-long project that we are just starting out, and in addition to that, we're also working on a series of photographs, which I'm titling Miami Flowers. I'll just leave it at that.
Oh my gosh. That's a wonderful project. Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you.
I'm very excited to see how that turns out. Gosh. So I have to ask, because I asked of everybody, what's your advice for any young artists, any students out there that want to take on photography or be in the arts at all? Anything that you weren't told that you wish you were told?
Yes. Learn how money works. Yeah.
That's a very good one. Why?
Because this is a business.
Yeah.
Every artist is a brand. I am a brand. You are a brand. You got to think of yourself as a brand, and you got to present yourself as a brand. You have to know how a business operates.
Yeah.
You got to learn, how money operates so that you can be successful in the career path that you choose. We're all talented and we're all artists. The talent is there. Continue developing that, continue feeding your curiosities, living life, enjoying life, and allowing that to influence your work and how you express yourself. But learn how money works.
The business side is so important.
Yeah.
Because what do you do after school? Like after, when you're trying to make a living for yourself.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
these are things that unfortunately is not a conversation that's being had in art schools.
No.
At
Yeah.
least it wasn't when I was in school. So these are things that I had to learn the hard way. Along a lot of artists, you've had to learn the hard way of just facing brick wall after brick wall. So this I'm telling you this now, learn how money works and learn how to run a business successfully. Because you have your art, you have your creation, and it's beautiful, it's gorgeous, it's inspiring. But we also have to take into consideration that it is a product, and you are a brand, and you are a business, and you have to navigate your career as such in order to excel, to evolve, and to be successful.
Yeah, absolutely. Mateo, this was a treat. Thank you so much for meeting with me today, for your time. I'm going to leave Mateo's info down below. If you're curious about his projects, working with him or collaborating, all the details will be down there. Thank you so much.
Really, thank you.
Thank you. Bye.